The miracle of the healing of the leper that we will hear today is one of the most beautiful miracle stories in the Gospels. Mark chapter 1 verses 40 to 45 tells us about this miracle. At the time of Jesus, the term leprosy was used for all kind of skin ailments, because the practice of religion at the time of Jesus was a very external practice. Any kind of marks on a person's body would render that person incapable or unclean of performing the ritual to God. And so the lepers were treated in a very, very disparaging manner. Lepers were not meant to live within the community. Lepers had to live apart from the community, away from the community, in a secluded place. The only time when they were allowed to come into the village was when they had to beg for their food, because no one would give a leper a work or a job. And so lepers were a very, very discriminated group at the time of Jesus. Even when a leper passed by, the leper had to come in and keep shouting, "Unclean, unclean," so that those who heard would run away from the leper or walk on the other side, so as not to allow even the shadow of the leper to fall on them. In the Old Testament, there is the healing of Naaman, the leper, the Syrian leper, but no other healings are mentioned except of Miriam, the sister of Moses, right in the book of Genesis. So leprosy was considered almost an incurable disease, and only God could cure lepers according to the understanding of that time. This leper who comes to Jesus already indicates that he believes that Jesus is capable of making him whole. And even as the leper comes and approaches Jesus, he kneels down. And the kneeling of the leper is an indication that he is willing to listen to whatever Jesus has to say. He is willing to do whatever Jesus commands him to do, and he pleads with Jesus in these words, which are very akin to the prayer of Jesus in Gethsemane, and the words are, "If you will, you can make me clean." The same verse Jesus uses in Mark chapter 14, verses 32 to 42, when he prays to his Father, "If it is your will, take this cup away from me." This leper is imitating the prayer of Jesus and asks Jesus to heal him only if it is according to Jesus' will. The second part is the healing proper. Jesus is angry. Jesus is angry not with the leper, but Jesus is angry with society and the manner in which the leper has been treated. And so, to indicate that there is no contamination as far as Jesus is concerned, to indicate there is no need to treat this leper as someone who has to be excluded from society, Jesus reaches out and touches the leper. Jesus could have healed without a touch. Jesus could have healed with simply a word, as he does in so many other occasions, and yet here, very, very clearly, Jesus reaches out and touches this leper and says to him, almost repeating his plea and his prayer, "I will be clean." And the leper is cleansed immediately. The prayer of the leper and the plea of the leper are a lesson to each one of us as to how we can pray. There are times when we ask God and pray to God for something that we need. Sometimes we are granted that prayer, and sometimes we do not receive what we are asking for. Often, it might be the case of a terminal illness like cancer, when we pray for the member of our family and ask the Lord to heal and to take away that cancer, and sometimes it is taken away, sometimes the person is healed. But there are many times when the cancer is incurable. There are many times when the person who is sick has to go through this ordeal, and those are the times that we might tend to give up. Those are the times that we might tend to get upset with God. Those are the times when we might tend to lose our faith and say to ourselves, what is the point in believing if God cannot do this for me? If we say that, we are not really being like the leper. We are not really praying like the leper. Our relationship with God is of barter exchange. I will believe, Lord, only if you do my will. And the leper teaches us to let the initiative rest with God and to pray in these words. I believe, Lord, let it be according to your will. Because no matter what the outcome of that ailment, whether healing takes place or whether the person has to go back to God, one thing is very clear: if we allow that clarity to enter our minds and our hearts, that God's will for us is always better than our own will for ourselves. We might not be able to see it at this particular moment in time, but if we give it time, we will surely see. And so the story of today and the leper's prayer of today, like the prayer of Jesus in Gethsemane, is inviting us to pray in the same manner. If it is your will, I will receive it. Or let it be to me according to your will. Will you pray in this way today?